of Metropolitan Hospital's staff locker room cast harsh shadows across Dr. Corey Keith's face as he buttoned up his crisp white coat. His fingers, the same ones that had sutured countless wounds and saved numerous lives, moved mechanically through the familiar routine. The watch on his wrist read 6:45 p.m., 15 minutes before his night shift would begin. Multiple vehicle pileup on the interstate. Dr. Keith called out Dr. Sarachan, rushing past the locker room entrance. ETA 10 minutes. At least 6 critical. Corey nodded, his mind already shifting into the focused state that had earned him his reputation as one of the state's finest emergency surgeons. At 45, the silver threading through his dark hair and the fine lines around his eyes spoke of countless nights like this one, of lives saved and lost under the unforgiving hospital lights. "I'll head down to—" He stopped mid-sentence, patting his pockets. The backup phone wasn't there. The one he kept for emergencies when his primary phone's battery inevitably died during long surgeries. "Damn," he muttered, remembering he'd left it charging in the basement at home. The autumn evening was cool as Corey pulled into his driveway. The 2-story colonial home sat quiet and familiar, its windows glowing warmly against the deepening dusk. His wife Abigail's red SUV was parked in its usual spot, and he could see Lucas's room light on upstairs. 20 years of marriage had taught him the house's rhythms. At this hour, Abigail would be preparing dinner, and Lucas would be gaming online with his friends. A typical evening in the Keith household. Or so he thought. As Corey descended the basement stairs, the cool air carrying the familiar scent of laundry detergent and the lingering traces of Abigail's fitness classes, he heard Lucas's voice floating through the partially open door of his gaming room. "Dude, you won't believe what went down last night." Lucas's voice carried the excited tone of someone sharing juicy gossip. Corey paused, his hand reaching for the backup phone on the charging station. Something in his son's tone made him stop. "The whole football team, man. The entire fucking team." Lucas's laughter echoed off the basement walls. "Mom had them all over here. You should have seen how they scattered when I came home early from practice." The backup phone slipped from Corey's suddenly numb fingers, clattering against the concrete floor. He barely noticed. "Coach Guerra? Oh man, he practically lives here now." Lucas's voice dripped with disdain. "Mom thinks she's so smart with her fitness classes in the basement. Meanwhile, Dad's off playing hero at the hospital, working night shifts like some kind of clueless idiot." Each word felt like a physical blow, but Corey remained rooted to the spot, his medical training keeping his breathing steady even as his world crumbled around him. "You know what's really pathetic?" Lucas continued, unaware of his father's presence. "Dad's so caught up in his precious hospital work, he doesn't even notice. All those expensive medical degrees, and he can't see what's happening right under his nose." More laughter filtered through the door, this time from Lucas's gaming friends. "Yo, Luke, your mom's wild, man. But seriously, isn't your dad gonna catch on eventually? Are you kidding?" Lucas scoffed. "He's too busy saving strangers to save his own marriage. Besides, Mom's got it all figured out. These private training sessions with Coach Guerra? Pure genius. Dad thinks she's just being supportive of my football career." The basement suddenly felt too small, the air too thick. Through the fog of shock, his phone buzzed. The hospital. The pileup victims would be arriving soon. Lives hanging in the balance, waiting for his steady hands and clear mind. Taking a deep breath, Corey picked up the backup phone. 20 years of emergency medicine had taught him one crucial lesson. Emotion could wait. Action came first. As he climbed the stairs, he heard Abigail's voice from the kitchen. "Lucas, dinner's ready, honey." "Coming, Mom." Lucas called back, his tone shifting seamlessly from contempt to affection. "Just finishing up a game." Corey slipped out the front door without announcing his presence, his mind already formulating a plan. He wouldn't confront them, not yet. First, he needed evidence. First, he needed to understand the full scope of the betrayal that had been playing out in his basement while he worked to save lives. The morning sun had barely cleared the horizon when Corey pulled into the gravel parking lot of Mel's Diner, 15 miles from his neighborhood. Inside, the coffee was strong and the waitresses minded their own business, exactly what he needed right now. The bell above the door chimed as he entered, and a weathered waitress named May gave him a knowing look. She'd seen that expression before, the hollow-eyed stare of someone whose world had just been upended. "Coffee, Han?" she asked, already reaching for a mug. "Please," Corey replied, sliding into a booth in the far corner. Once she'd filled his cup and retreated, he pulled out his phone and dialed a number he hadn't used in years. "Melendez Investigations. Toby? It's Corey Keith. Doc?" Toby's voice warmed with recognition. "Man, last time I heard from you was that conference in Chicago. What, 5 years ago?" "Listen, Toby," Corey cut through the pleasantries, his voice low and controlled. "I need your help, and I need absolute discretion." The warmth in Toby's voice shifted to professional concern. "Of course. What's going on?" Corey took a burning sip of coffee before speaking. "I need surveillance on my house. Specifically, the basement. There are activities happening there that I need documented." "What kind of activities?" 6 months ago, my son's football coach, Marco Guerra, started running fitness classes in our basement. My wife, Abigail, she's a former fitness instructor. It seemed legitimate at first, but now I need to know everything. Who comes, who goes, how long they stay. And I need background checks on Guerra and his entire coaching staff. The sound of typing filtered through the phone. "Marco Guerra, new hire at Metropolitan High?" "That's him. Started this semester." Corey's grip tightened on his coffee cup. "I overheard something last night. My son. He was bragging online about how his mother was entertaining the entire football team while I worked nights." The typing stopped. "Jesus, Corey. Don't apologize. Just be thorough. I need everything you can find on Guerra. Previous employment, references, any complaints or scandals. My gut tells me there's more to this than just—" He couldn't finish the sentence. "You still got that security system in the basement?" Abigail had it disabled when the classes started. "But after that break-in attempt last year, I installed a backup system." "She doesn't know about it." "Smart. Access code still 1997? Same as our old dorm room." Corey managed a bitter smile. "The classes are officially scheduled for Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But there's been irregular activity. Cars I don't recognize in the driveway during my night shifts." "I'll put my best people on it," Toby assured him. "We'll figure out what's going on, document." After hanging up, Corey ordered breakfast he knew he wouldn't eat. May brought him eggs and toast, along with another sympathetic smile. "Whatever it is, honey," she said, topping off his coffee. "It ain't worth missing meals over." His phone buzzed with Abigail's usual morning text. "Missed you this morning. Hope the shift wasn't too rough. Love you." He stared at the message, remembering all the similar texts over the years. How many of them had been sent while Coach Guerra was in their basement? How many proclamations of love had been lies? 2 weeks of surveillance revealed a rhythm to the betrayal, as predictable as a patient's vital signs. Corey sat in Toby's cramped office, studying the evidence spread across the desk like a complex medical chart. "It's not just Guerra," Toby explained, laying out a series of photographs. "Look at these vehicles. All registered to prominent community members." Corey picked up a photo of a black Mercedes. Wayne Arnold, school board president. His finger moved to an Audi in another shot. Don Fitzgerald, head of the local real estate association. "I operated on his daughter last year." He paused at a Range Rover. "And Johnny Figueroa, assistant district attorney. All married men," Toby noted. "All in positions of authority. All regular visitors during these fitness classes, and all connected to the high school somehow," Corey added, seeing the pattern emerge. "Arnold oversees the athletic budget, Fitzgerald's firm handles the school's property management, and Figueroa's wife chairs the booster club. There's more." Toby pulled out a thick folder. "Guerra's employment history is interesting. 3 different schools in 5 years, all resignations, no formal complaints filed. They kept it quiet," Corey murmured. "Why?" "Still working on that. But here's something else." Toby slid over a photo of Lucas's new car. "That Audi your wife said she bought with fitness class fees? Invoice shows it came through Fitzgerald's dealership. Sold well below market value." Corey's mind flashed to Lucas's recent elevation to starting quarterback, despite his mediocre performance. Everything connected: the car, the playing time, his son's sudden loyalty to Coach Guerra. His phone buzzed. "Hey, Dad. Coach says I'm starting Friday. Mom wants to have a celebration dinner. You'll be there, right?" "They're using him," Corey said quietly. "The car, the starting position. It's all about keeping him complicit." "Kids that age," Toby sighed. "They see what they want to see." The late afternoon sun slanted through the office blinds as Corey gathered the evidence. In a few hours, he'd be back at the hospital, saving lives while this corruption played out in his own home. His phone buzzed again. "Abigail, so proud of our boy. Coach Guerra suggested we have him over for dinner too. Is that okay?" Corey stared at the message for a long moment before typing. "Of course. It's Lucas's big moment. Invite whoever you think should be there. What's your next move?" Toby asked. "Keep watching," Corey replied. "Keep gathering evidence. Something tells me we've only scratched the surface." He left Toby's office with a weight in his chest but a clarity in his mind. Years of emergency medicine had taught him that sometimes the most serious conditions presented with the subtlest symptoms. You had to look deeper, understand the underlying cause before you could begin treatment. That night, as he prepared for his shift, Corey thought about patterns in medicine, in betrayal, in the quiet corruption of a family. He thought about his son's disdain, his wife's deception, and the web of lies being woven in his basement. But mostly, he thought about timing. In trauma surgery, timing was everything. Move too soon, and you could make things worse. Move too late, and you might lose the patient entirely. The trauma center's lights flickered on as he arrived for his shift. Somewhere in the night, another crisis waited. Another life needed saving. And Dr. Corey Keith would be there, steady and focused, while in his mind, the pieces of his own crisis continued to align themselves, forming a pattern he could no longer ignore. Darren Phelps traced the scar along his sternum as he studied the surveillance photos spread across his office's conference table. 18 months ago, he'd arrived at Metropolitan Hospital with a severed aorta after a drunk driver hit his car. The doctors had given him a 5% chance of survival. But Dr. Corey Keith had spent 14 hours in surgery, refusing to give up. Now, watching Corey methodically arrange evidence of his wife's betrayal, Darren understood it was time to repay that debt. "Walk me through it again," Darren said, picking up one of the surveillance photos. From the beginning, Toby Melendez, the private investigator Corey had hired, stepped forward. Marco Guerra joins Metropolitan High as the new football coach 6 months ago. Establishes himself quickly, suggests using the Keith's basement for training sessions. Abigail, with her fitness instructor background, makes it seem legitimate. But it wasn't just training, Corey added quietly. "No," Toby confirmed, laying out more photos. "We've identified regular visitors: Wayne Arnold, school board president; Don Fitzgerald, real estate association head; Johnny Figueroa, assistant DA. All married men, all tied to the school system somehow." A knock at the door interrupted them. Nurse Jeanette Neff entered, still in her hospital scrubs. She'd worked alongside Corey for 15 years, seen him save countless lives during those long night shifts. "Sorry I'm late," she said, taking in the evidence spread across the table. "Had to finish the schedule adjustments you requested. Were there any questions?" Corey asked. "No," Jeanette assured him. "I've arranged coverage for your shifts when needed. Nothing that would raise suspicion." Darren watched the interaction, noting the efficiency of their medical shorthand. In the trauma center, every second counted. They brought that same precision to this operation. "Tell them about the pattern," Toby suggested, pulling out a thick folder. "Guerra's done this before," Corey explained. 3 different states, 3 different schools. Always affluent neighborhoods. Always targeting families where one spouse works long hours or travels frequently. "Like a night shift surgeon," Darren observed. "Exactly. He establishes these training programs, gets close to the families, particularly the spouses left alone." "And my son?" Darren asked carefully. Pain flickered briefly across Corey's face. "Lucas thinks I'm weak for working nights. He's been covering for them, enjoying the benefits, better playing time. A new car from Fitzgerald's dealership at a suspicious discount. The money trail's interesting, Toby interjected, spreading out financial documents. Large sums moving through unusual channels. All connected to these fitness classes somehow. I've heard things at hospital functions, Jeanette added. Other wives making unusual investment decisions. All attending these private sessions in your basement. Darren's legal mind began connecting dots. With Fitzgerald involved in real estate and Arnold on the school board. This could be more than just infidelity. That's why I need your help, Corey said. Not just legal advice. I need to understand exactly what they're planning. The security cameras, Toby reminded them. The ones Abigail thinks are disabled. How long has the backup system been recording? Since the break-in attempt last year, Corey replied. Everything's archived to a secure server. Darren stood, decision made. All right, here's what we do. Toby, dig deeper into Guerra's previous operations. Nurse Neff, maintain Corey's hospital coverage. I'll start building the legal framework we might need. And me? Corey asked. You keep saving lives, Darren said, touching his scar meaningfully. Stay focused on your patients. Let us handle the investigation. Corey's phone buzzed. Another text from Abigail. Planning something special for Lucas next Friday. Coach Guerra has amazing news. Can you get off early? The team exchanged glances. Perfect timing, Darren said quietly. While they make their plans, we'll make ours. The hospital chapel's stained glass cast colored shadows across the white wall where Toby's projector displayed the first video from Corey's basement security system. At 3 a.m., the space offered perfect privacy. No cameras, no witnesses, just truth illuminated in the darkness. You need to see this, Toby said, queuing up the first file. The image cleared, Guerra and Fitzgerald in the basement, unaware of being recorded. These wives think they're being rebellious, Guerra was saying, having their little affairs while their husbands work nights. They don't see the bigger opportunity. And Abigail? Fitzgerald asked. She's managing Keith's suspicions? She thinks she's clever, Guerra laughed, using her trainer background as cover. Meanwhile, everything's falling into place. The next clip showed Wayne Arnold addressing a group. Once the rezoning request goes through, Fitzgerald's firm can move forward with the development plans. And the investors? Their wives are keeping them occupied. Clip after clip revealed meetings, plans, schemes, all orchestrated from Corey's basement while he worked saving lives upstairs. Then came the hardest video. Abigail alone with Guerra, 2 weeks ago. Corey's investment account, she was saying. The college fund for Lucas. It's substantial. Perfect, Guerra replied. He'll never miss it. Doctors make too much money anyway. This development opportunity could double the investment in months. I don't know, Abigail hesitated. He's worked so hard for that money. Your husband will never be more than what he is, a night shift surgeon who cares more about strangers than family. But you could be part of something bigger. And Lucas? This could set him up for life. Toby paused the playback. Want to see the rest? Everything, Corey replied, his voice steady. I need to understand the full scope. For the next hour, they watched Guerra's operation unfold. The fake development plans. The manipulation of school board decisions. The systematic targeting of families like Corey's, successful professionals working long hours, their spouses vulnerable to Guerra's scheme. The college fund transfer, Toby noted, closing his laptop. It's scheduled for next week, after the school board meeting. And Lucas's celebration dinner? Same day they're announcing him as team captain. The timing's deliberate. Through the chapel windows, dawn was breaking. Corey's phone buzzed. The ER needed him. How do you maintain focus? Toby asked. Knowing what's happening in your home? Because every life I save matters, Corey replied simply. Even when my own life is falling apart. Darren's office had transformed into their operations center, its walls now covered with evidence of Guerra's activities. The afternoon sun illuminated photos, documents, and timelines that traced the corruption in Corey's basement. Tomorrow's school board meeting, Darren said, marking the calendar. Arnold pushes through the rezoning approval, which triggers the investment transfers, Toby added. Multiple families moving funds into the development account. Nurse Jeanette checked her phone. Corey's finishing in surgery. He'll be here soon. When Corey arrived, still in surgical scrubs, he moved directly to the evidence wall. "Update me. We've mapped Guerra's methodology," Darren explained. "He identifies affluent communities, uses his coaching position to locate vulnerable families, and establishes these training programs as cover. The affairs create leverage," Toby continued. "Keep the spouses distracted while they set up the real operation through the school board's rezoning decisions." "And my basement?" "Their meeting point," Darren replied. "Who would suspect a high school coach running fitness classes? Your security cameras have captured everything. The meetings, the plans, the amounts involved." "The celebration dinner?" "Scheduled for after the school board approval," Toby said. "They're announcing Lucas as team captain the same day the investment transfer's complete." Corey studied the evidence wall, processing each detail methodically. His phone buzzed. Another emergency room case needed his attention. "Go," Darren said. "We'll continue here." As Corey headed for the door, Jeanette spoke up. "The scheduling's arranged. Everything's in place for next week." Corey nodded, already focused on his next patient. The team watched him leave, understanding that while they prepared for what was coming, Dr. Corey Keith would continue doing what he did best, saving lives, one night shift at a time. Abigail Strong Keith fussed over the dining room table with nervous energy, adjusting the crystal glasses for the third time. She'd spent the afternoon transforming their usual family dinner space into something worthy of Marco Guerra's announcement. The good china, wedding gifts that rarely left their cabinets, gleamed under the chandelier's light. "A little to the right," she muttered, moving Coach Guerra's place setting at the head of the table. Corey's usual seat had been relegated to the far end, a deliberate repositioning that made her stomach twist with a guilt she refused to acknowledge. Lucas bounded down the stairs in his new designer clothes, another of Guerra's gifts that had appeared after his improved playing time. "Is everything perfect for Coach?" he asked, adjusting his collar in the hallway mirror. "Almost." Abigail surveyed the room critically. "Your father promised to leave the hospital on time, but—" She let the sentence hang, years of disappointment evident in her tone. The doorbell chimed at exactly 7. Lucas rushed to answer it, his eagerness to please Guerra a sharp contrast to his usual disdain for his father's arrivals. "Coach, Mr. Arnold, Mr. Fitzgerald." Lucas's voice carried a warmth he rarely showed at home. "Come in, please." Marco Guerra entered first, his confident stride carrying him directly to the head of the table as if it had always been his place. Wayne Arnold and Don Fitzgerald followed, exchanging knowing smirks as they took their seats. Johnny Figueroa arrived moments later, completing their inner circle. "Abigail," Guerra said warmly, kissing her cheek with practiced familiarity. "The room looks magnificent. As does that necklace. The pearls Corey gave you for your 20th, aren't they?" She touched the pearls self-consciously, remembering Corey's proud smile when he'd presented them. "Yes, When's the good doctor joining us?" Arnold interrupted, checking his Rolex. "Some of us have important matters to discuss. Right here." Corey's quiet voice came from the doorway. He stood in his suit from the morning's meetings, his expression unreadable as he took in the scene. His usurped place at the table, his wife's flush of guilt, his son's obvious hero worship of Guerra. "Dad," Lucas said, the word carrying a weight of judgment. "Coach Guerra has amazing news about my position on the team." "Does he?" Corey settled into his assigned seat at the table's foot, his movements unhurried. "Please, don't let me interrupt." Guerra raised his wine glass. A 1982 Bordeaux from Corey's collection. "Well, since everyone's here." His smile carried the confidence of a man who'd played this scene before. "First, Lucas, congratulations, son. You're looking at Metropolitan High's new team captain." Applause erupted around the table. Lucas beamed while Abigail wiped proud tears. Arnold and Fitzgerald raised their glasses in celebration. "And," Guerra continued, savoring his moment, "I think now's the perfect time to discuss that investment opportunity we've been developing." "Abigail, you mentioned the college fund transfer was ready?" "Yes." She reached for her tablet with trembling fingers. "I've prepared everything, just like you suggested." "Before we get to that," Corey's calm voice cut through the celebration like a surgical blade. "I'd like to share something with everyone." He reached for the remote to the large television, Guerra's suggestion, recently installed for reviewing game footage. Dad, Lucas protested. Coach Guerra was. Trust me, son. Corey's finger hovered over the power button. You'll want to see this. The screen flickered to life. Instead of football plays, it showed Guerra and Fitzgerald in the basement, their conversation crystal clear through the security system's audio. These desperate housewives, Guerra was saying, they think they're being so rebellious with their little affairs. Meanwhile, their husbands work nights, completely oblivious to the real opportunity. Abigail's wineglass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the hardwood floor. No one moved to clean it up as the video continued mercilessly. And Keith's college fund? Fitzgerald asked on screen. You're sure Abigail can access it? Please, Guerra laughed. She's so desperate to prove she's more than just a night shift surgeon's wife. She'd hand over their life savings. These people are pathetic. The color drained from Lucas's face. Mom? He whispered. What's he talking about? More videos played, meeting after meeting in their basement. Each clip revealed another layer of the scam. The fake development plans, the manipulation of school board decisions, the systematic targeting of families like theirs. That's enough, Guerra snapped, standing so abruptly his chair toppled backward. This is ridiculous. Abigail, turn it off. Sit down, Michael Reeves, Corey said quietly. Or should I use your name from Arizona? The one on your fraud conviction? Guerra's face contorted. You don't know what you're talking about. 3 states, Corey continued in his surgeon's steady tone. 3 different names. Always the same pattern. Target affluent neighborhoods, seduce lonely wives, set up fake investment schemes. How many families have you destroyed? Guerra lunged for the door but found his path blocked. FBI agent Rosa Fields entered first, her team moving with practiced precision to secure the room. Michael Reeves, also known as Marco Guerra, she announced, you and your associates are under arrest for fraud, conspiracy, and operating under false identities. As agents handcuffed Guerra, Arnold, Fitzgerald, and Figueroa, Lucas stared at his father with dawning comprehension. All those night shifts, all those hours he dismissed as weakness, had been building to this moment. Dad, he started, but Corey raised a hand. We're not finished, he said, changing the TV input. There's something else you need to see. Hospital security footage filled the screen. Corey in surgery, his hands steady as he fought to save lives while his family betrayed him in their basement. Case after case played out. Darren Phelps's near-fatal accident, a young mother's ruptured aneurysm, a child thrown from a car. While you were calling me weak, Corey said softly, while you were laughing about your mother turning our basement into a brothel, this is what I was doing. This is what night shifts look like, son. Agent Fields stepped forward as her team led the conspirators away. Dr. Keith's evidence broke open a 3-state investigation. Mr. Reeves, or Guerra, as you knew him, has been running this scheme for years. He targets communities like this one, using his position as a coach to identify vulnerable families. The car, Lucas said numbly, understanding dawning. My position on the team. All part of the manipulation, Fields confirmed. The Audi came from stolen money laundered through Fitzgerald's dealership. Making you team captain was designed to keep you complicit, to ensure your loyalty. Abigail sat crumpled in her chair, pearls glinting in the harsh light of truth. The college fund, she whispered. Corey, I was going to. I know, he replied. But you didn't get the chance. The money's safe. Our son's future is secure. Lucas watched the surgical footage continue on screen, each operation a testament to the strength he'd mistaken for weakness. All those nights, he said, while I was calling you a doormat. You were manipulated, Corey said, by experts who prey on exactly what you were feeling. A teenager's natural rebellion, frustration with an absent parent. They used that against our whole family. Agent Fields surveyed the ruined dinner party. Scattered chairs, broken glass, shattered illusions. We'll need statements from all of you. Dr. Keith, your basement security footage and financial records have given us everything we need for convictions, but testimony from your family will help ensure maximum sentences. What happens to Mom? Lucas asked, his voice small. That depends. Fields glanced at Corey. Your father's cooperation has earned some consideration, but there are still legal consequences for attempted financial fraud. Abigail sobbed quietly, twisting her wedding ring. 20 years of marriage destroyed by 6 months of manipulation and lies. I won't press charges against my wife, Corey said firmly. She was another victim of their scheme. But Lucas needs to understand consequences. He turned to his son. Which is why I've arranged something special for you. The following day, Lucas found an envelope on his bed. Inside was an application for Metropolitan Hospital's volunteer program and a note from his father. You wanted to know what night shifts look like. Come see for yourself. 1 year passed, marked by the steady rhythm of hospital life and the slower pace of healing. The Keith family home had been sold, its basement no longer a symbol of betrayal but simply a space in someone else's story. Lucas adjusted his volunteer badge as he walked the familiar hospital corridors. A year of night shifts had transformed him, not just physically, but fundamentally. He'd learned to see strength in quiet dedication, in the steady hands that saved lives while others slept. The emergency department hummed with its usual controlled chaos. Nurses moved with purpose, orderlies transported patients with gentle efficiency, and in the center of it all, his father worked with the same calm precision that had exposed a criminal enterprise. Major trauma incoming, the charge nurse announced. Multiple gunshot wounds. Dr. Keith? Corey nodded, already moving toward the trauma bay. Lucas followed, no longer the arrogant teenager who'd mocked his father's dedication. Help me gown up, Corey said, and Lucas moved with practiced ease, tying his father's surgical gown with the same precision he'd once used to adjust his football uniform. Hours later, as dawn painted the sky in shades of promise, father and son sat in the doctor's lounge. Another life saved, another family kept whole. The acceptance letter came, Lucas said quietly. Metropolitan University School of Medicine. Corey looked up from his coffee. You're certain about this path? A year ago, I thought working nights meant weakness, Lucas replied. Now I understand. Every night here, lives depend on someone being willing to sacrifice their comfort for strangers. That's not weakness. That's the kind of strength I want to learn. The scholarship fund Corey had established with the proceeds from the house sale was already helping other children of night shift workers pursue medical careers. The betrayal that had nearly cost Lucas his future had become an opportunity for others to find their calling. Abigail had moved to another state, her role in the scandal making it impossible to stay. Her letters to Lucas arrived regularly, each one an attempt to explain, to seek forgiveness, to understand her own vulnerability to manipulation. Some wounds, they were learning, took longer to heal than others. The trauma center's lights flickered as another ambulance approached. Father and son stood together, ready to face whatever emergency the night would bring. Still think I'm a doormat? Corey asked, the old accusation now a gentle reminder of how far they'd come. Lucas watched the trauma team assemble, each person playing their role in the intricate dance of emergency medicine. No, Dad, he replied, understanding at last. I think you're a hero, and I'm sorry it took me so long to see it. They moved together toward the emergency department, their footsteps in sync. The lesson had been hard, but it would last a lifetime. Sometimes the greatest strength lay not in dominating others, but in steadily serving them, night after night, while the rest of the world slept. As the ambulance doors burst open, father and son stood ready. Another life hung in the balance. Another family waited anxiously for news. And in the controlled chaos of the trauma center, they worked side by side, understanding at last what real strength looked like. Epilogue. 5 years later. The visitors' room at Federal Correctional Institution Waseca maintained a sterile cheerfulness that fooled no one. Michael Reeves, formerly known as Marco Guerra, sat in his orange jumpsuit, the past 5 years of incarceration evident in his graying temples and diminished swagger. Across the table, FBI agent Rosa Fields opened a thick file. Your parole hearing is next month, she said, studying his reaction. Want to know how your former associates are doing? Reeves's jaw tightened. After 15 years of running his scheme across multiple states, being caught had been hard enough. Learning the aftermath had been worse. Wayne Arnold took a plea deal, Fields continued. Testified against everyone. He's in minimum security, teaching business ethics classes to other white-collar criminals. She allowed herself a small smile at the irony. Don Fitzgerald got 7 years for money laundering through his dealership. His wife got the business in the divorce. She's running it legitimately now, doing quite well. And Johnny Figueroa? Reeves asked, his voice rough from disuse. The former assistant DA? Disbarred, obviously. Working as a paralegal in his brother's small-town practice. His wife stuck by him, surprisingly. They're rebuilding their life in Nebraska. Reeves nodded slowly. And Abigail? Fields studied him carefully. Abigail Strongkeith had been both perpetrator and victim, her story a cautionary tale that the FBI now used in training sessions about complex fraud cases. She pled guilty to attempted financial fraud, Fields replied. Got probation, thanks to Dr. Keith's intervention and her cooperation. She's in Minnesota now, teaching yoga at a small studio. Divorced, of course. The scandal made staying in town impossible. She pulled out a newspaper clipping, Metropolitan Hospital's newest wing dedication ceremony. Dr. Corey Keith stood front and center, his son Lucas beside him in a white medical coat. Dr. Lucas Keith completed his residency last month, Fields said. Specialized in emergency medicine, like his father. They work night shifts together sometimes at Metropolitan. The hospital administration wants the younger Dr. Keith to take over as chief of emergency medicine when his father retires next year. Reeves stared at the photo, at the proud father and accomplished son who had once been pawns in his game. The scholarship fund? He asked quietly. The Keith Night Shift Workers Scholarship? It's helped 37 students enter medical school so far. Most of them children of nurses, orderlies, and other hospital staff who work while others sleep. They're calling it the Silent Heroes program now. She pulled out another photo, the old Keith residence, now completely renovated. The basement's a community center these days. The new owners turned it into a study space for underprivileged kids. Quite a change from its former use. Reeves pushed the photos away, but Fields wasn't finished. The victim restitution payments from your seized assets have helped rebuild some of the families you destroyed. Not all of them recovered as well as the Keiths, of course. Some marriages couldn't survive the betrayal. Some kids never forgave their parents. But a few found strength they didn't know they had. At Metropolitan Hospital, the emergency department hummed with its usual controlled chaos. Dr. Corey Keith, silver now dominant in his hair, worked seamlessly alongside his son. They had just finished a complex trauma case, a success that would have been impossible 5 years ago. Got a minute, Dad? Lucas asked as they left the OR. At 32, he carried himself with the quiet confidence of someone who had learned hard lessons early. They walked to the doctor's lounge, where Nurse Jeanette Neff was finishing her shift. She'd been promoted to chief nursing officer 3 years ago, but still worked night shifts occasionally, wanting to stay connected to the front lines. Your mother's latest letter came to the house, Corey said, pulling an envelope from his locker. After 5 years, Abigail still sent monthly updates, each one a mixture of apology and attempt at redemption. Lucas took the letter, but didn't open it. She's still teaching in Minnesota? Yes. She seems stable. She's been sober 4 years now. The therapy's helping. The healing had been slow, complicated by the public nature of their family's destruction. The media had loved the story. The successful surgeon, the unfaithful wife, the corrupt coach, the son caught between. But they had survived, partly because Corey had insisted on forgiveness, even while maintaining boundaries. Darren Phelps called, Corey mentioned. The law practice is thriving. He's teaching part-time at the university now, using our case as a study in complex fraud and rehabilitation. Lucas nodded. Darren had become family over the years, his own survival story intertwining with theirs. The scar on his chest, from the surgery where Corey saved his life, had faded to a thin line, much like the emotional scars their family carried. Toby's retiring, Corey continued, referring to the PI who had helped expose Guerra's scheme. Says our case was the highlight of his career. He's writing a book about it. The trauma center's lights flickered, a familiar signal of incoming emergencies. Father and son moved with practice synchronization, their shared purpose stronger for having been tested. Multiple casualty incident, the charge nurse announced. 6 minutes out. As they prepared for another night of saving lives, Lucas caught sight of his reflection in a window. The designer clothes and arrogant sneer of his teenage years had been replaced by surgical scrubs and humble confidence. "You know," he said as they gowned up, "I got a letter from Tommy Arnold last week. Wayne's son? Yeah. He's applying to medical school. Wants to know if he'd qualify for the Silent Heroes Scholarship, considering everything." Corey paused in tying his surgical mask. "What did you tell him?" "That strength isn't about where you come from, but where you choose to go. That sometimes the hardest lessons leave the deepest impact." Lucas smiled behind his mask. "I might have learned that somewhere." The ambulance sirens grew closer. In the trauma bay, their team assembled nurses, technicians, specialists, each one a testament to the quiet strength of night shift workers. "His father's actions aren't his fault," Corey said finally. "The scholarship committee will consider his application like any other." 5 years had changed them all. The scandal that had rocked their affluent community had faded to cautionary tale status. Guerra's other victims had scattered, some rebuilding, others still struggling with trust and betrayal. But here in the hospital, where life and death hung in delicate balance, the lessons remained clear. Real strength wasn't found in manipulation or deception, but in steady dedication and quiet service. The emergency doors burst open, bringing chaos and urgency. Father and son moved forward together, their shared purpose stronger for having been forged in betrayal's fire. In Minnesota, Abigail Strong taught her evening yoga class, her wedding ring long gone but her pearls Corey's anniversary gift, still around her neck. A reminder, she told her therapist, of consequences and redemption. In the federal prison, Michael Reeves stared at the newspaper clipping Agent Fields had left behind. The Keith men looked strong, confident, united. Everything he had tried to destroy and had instead inadvertently strengthened. And in Metropolitan Hospital's trauma center, 2 generations of Keith surgeons worked through another night shift, saving lives while others slept. The lessons had been hard, but they had lasted. Sometimes strength wore surgical scrubs, sometimes it came disguised as weakness, and sometimes, just sometimes, it was found in the courage to rebuild after everything fell apart. Behind them, the emergency department's lights flickered again. Another ambulance approached. Another life hung in balance. Another opportunity to prove that real heroism often came quietly, in the dark hours when most of the world slept. Dr. Corey Keith and Dr. Lucas Keith moved forward together, their footsteps echoing in the corridor. They had learned, through betrayal and redemption, that some shifts never really ended. They just changed the people who worked them. Outside, the sun began to rise on another day. In federal prison, in a Minnesota yoga studio, in a small Nebraska law office, and in countless other places, the ripples of consequences continued to spread. But here, in the hospital's quiet corridors, father and son had found their truth. Real strength wasn't about power or control. It was about endurance, dedication, and the willingness to serve others while asking nothing in return. It was about working through the night, saving lives while others slept, and finding purpose in the quiet moments between emergencies. Some lessons were hard, but they lasted a lifetime. And sometimes, in the end, that was exactly what made them worth learning. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy this story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.